The next piece we're looking at is rhinoceros, wounded man, and disemboweled bison. And all of those features are here. We'll get to it. And this is one of the first narratives that we see, one of the first representations of man, in this case, man with a bird mask. So what we're looking at here, bring up my pen, is our man right here, our bison, and our rhinoceros over here. And what we see are more than likely signs that two different people are involved, or artistically two different hands. Because we see a somewhat inconsistent style, especially between the rhinoceros and the wounded man and disemboweled bison. The rhinoceros looks a little hazier. It has a little different sense to its body form. It seems to be more confident than the other pieces. The three dots behind the rhino, we don't actually know what those are. And what we're seeing is really a narrative. So we don't know the role of our rhinoceros friend here. The bison is wounded. Now, keep in mind, hunting at the time is incredibly dangerous. Many of these animals that they're going after, bison, rhinoceros, some carnivores, sometimes rabbits, can be really, really mean. And larger animals will try and stomp injured hunters to death, or they may try and gore them, or any number of other things. So dying in the hunt is actually very common. And when we look at the wounded man, we see that he's at this angle, which means he's probably lying on the ground. And he seems to be wearing a bird mask. He also seems to have a bird staff. This probably means that he's some kind of priest. At least that's the most likely explanation. And you would want a holy man with you to ensure that the herd shows up, because nothing kills the hunt like the animals not being there. So it's quite possible he dies even though he's sort of a shaman or some kind of holy man. We can see the disemboweled bison here in great detail with the intestines hanging out, but of course that wouldn't necessarily stop an animal from attacking again. It's just like when you're deer hunting and the first thing you're supposed to do when you get to the deer is actually slit its throat, even if you think it's dead, just to ensure that it's not going to come back and harm you. But the importance here is that this is the first narrative that we're really seeing. Which brings us to the Hall of Bulls. Which brings us to the Hall of Bulls. And the Hall of Bulls is unusual. We have all of these animals being depicted. This is a full scene, sort of seeing the entire hall. Here's just part of it. And what we're seeing is quite a few different animals. We have bison, we have red deer, we have horses, we have other animals, some smaller animals. But we don't know why this was done. It could be a number of reasons. It could be decorative. They could just be decorating the hall. Maybe it's a day that they can't go out and hunt and they're, using their time. It could have to do with magical properties. So what you could imagine happening is someone draws a bison, and then the next day when they're out hunting, they kill a bison. So this is going to create a superstition. And what'll happen is subsequently, people will start drawing animals, hoping that the act of doing so is drawing them in for the next day's hunt. It could be ritual. Maybe they killed one of these animals already, and this is their way of thanking the gods. It may be instructional. It may tell them what kind of game is in the area, and possibly somehow coded in this is where it's found. That might be important because these are nomadic peoples, so they may not come back to the same area for 5 or 10 years, at which point a large amount of that tribe may have changed over. So it may be important to maintain this instruction. It could be mythological as well. It's possible that these animals symbolize men and women, or could symbolize gods. We're just not sure. That's the problem with prehistoric art. Finally, this could be Paleolithic man's relationship to his world. These are animals that are important, but keep in mind, they're not killing bison as often as they're killing deer or rabbits or smaller game. So it could be sort of his relationship to his world. He really wants bison and horses. He's really getting deer and smaller animals. But at this point, we're actually going to change gears and move into the Neolithic.